not as
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Mega Super Fighting Friday. I'm your host, Meta Ruler, and for the rest of today, we're bringing you all things fighting games. We got a fighting game showcase of Tatsunoko versus Capcom. We got Duelists of Eden PvP showcase, and we have Mega Man: The Power Battle and Fighters later on tonight to cap it off. But first, we've got a little something that Miller2B is prepared for us here, and I'll let him take it away.
Welcome everybody. So, as you can see on the screen, this is the Super Fighting Robot Mega Man and the fighting game genre panel. Just to get us started and just to explain what's going on here. This is a basically just a retrospective. We're just gonna go through pretty much Mega Man's history within the fighting game genre, mostly through the traditional 2D fighting games, a lot of like the Capcom Versus series, and even some other games that actually weren't even made by Capcom. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. And before we get started, who am I? Uh, Greetings everyone, I'm Miller2B, lifelong Mega Man fan. All-time favorite game is Mega Man X. Been playing this series as long as I've been playing video games. I'm also a fighting game competitor of 15 plus years. Started actually with Marvel vs. Capcom 3, one of the many games that will be covered in this panel. In addition to just enjoying Mega Man even on the casual side, I'm also a speedrunner, mainly specializing in the X series, particularly X4. So, what is this all about? So this is we're going to explore the intertwined history of traditional 2D fighting games and the Mega Man franchise. A lot of characters across the series have been featured in many different games. How their various abilities from the games and whatnot, how do they make the transition into the fighting game space? I'll give you a little hint. Projectiles are the main focus for a lot of them. But there's more than that too. So, like I said, it's really cool. Glad to go with it through all of you. So let's go ahead and get started. So for our first part, we're going to explore the early versus game era, particularly Marvel vs. Capcom and Marvel vs. Capcom 2. So Mega Man would first appear in the original Marvel vs. Capcom, and also even more characters would join in Marvel vs. Capcom 2. So you're probably wondering, what is the Capcom versus series? So back in 1996, Capcom and Marvel were very closely working together. They actually started with the arcade beat 'em up, The Punisher. That was their first collaboration. Then from there, they dropped a couple fighting games. The first one being X-Men: Children of the Atom, which was an all X-Men fighting game, and then that later expanded into Marvel superheroes, which threw in Captain America, Hulk, etc. into the mix. With that, it's Capcom and it's the arcades, so their other big cash cow there, Street Fighter, they decided, hey, we have this license, hey, we have Street Fighter, let's do something crazy. And then they threw them both together, and the end result was X-Men versus Street Fighter. And in addition to that, they did something a little unique, never before seen there either, with 2D tag team fighting games. So you would pick two characters, and you could switch between them as you fought. And in addition to that, there were mechanics such as super jumping and things like that, really crazy movement, basically like nothing else like it at the time. Now with this series, it would eventually expand the rosters from just X-Men and Street Fighter into Marvel Comics and Capcom altogether. So now we're going to do a little time skip into the third game in that series, which most of you probably know, Marvel vs. Capcom Clash with Superheroes. So in '98, this is the first one to feature all of Capcom's franchises as opposed to just Street Fighter. So we introduced stuff like Darkstalkers, you can see Strider there as well, and of course Mega Man. As far as gameplay goes, it was still a 2v2 game, but the big selling point here was the variable cross system, which is basically you could spend some meter to have both of your characters jump in and start fighting at the exact same time. Your opponent could also do this at the same time you did it, so as you can see there, all 4 characters are on the screen fighting at the same time. And it's as chaotic as it looks. So, that being said, let's go into the character that this game introduced on the Capcom side, with a very familiar remix of a very familiar theme. We have Mega Man. One of the newcomers added to the game. This is his very first appearance in a fighting game. Generally speaking, it is Mega Man as you know and love him. However, personality-wise, they kind of took some liberties. He's very like immature, almost like a very snotty, bratty kid in this game. He has the classic taunt where he just kind of sticks his tongue out at you. A lot of his win quotes are he's just talking the most smack ever, including one where he's just like, "You're so weak, I don't even want your power," after he beats them. So yeah, very, very rude boy, at least here. As far as gameplay goes, it's Mega Man as you would expect. He's shooting a lot of stuff at you. You very uniquely, his heavy punch is just shooting the Mega Buster, and if you hold it down, you can charge the Mega Buster. The longer you hold it, the more hits it does. It's very possible to do like 30 hits if you basically hold it for the duration of an entire match and let it go. He also can call Eddie, which will allow him to actually switch between some of his projectile moves. So he can go from the Rock Ball from 8, Tornado Hold also from 8, and also Leaf Shield from Mega Man 2. As far as his supers go, he relies on his friends Rush, Beat, and the like. So he has Beat Plane, which, as you can see, he hops in the plane there and he can shoot projectiles, and he has basically free range flying movement for a little bit. And then also, after that, he has the Rush Drill, which is just like a multi-hitting move where he travels across the ground. And then they took a very funny liberty here where he fuses with all of them and does the super hyper Mega Man where he literally just becomes Mazinger and just fires off a bunch of projectiles on the screen at once. Also, so it wasn't just Mega Man in this game. As one of the secret characters that you can unlock by inputting a code on the character select screen, we have Roll. So she's a secret character. She's also, unfortunately, she is the game's joke character, essentially. Kind of like a Dan Hibiki type. Very intentionally underpowered clone of Mega Man. She has all of the same moves, but everything does less damage, shorter range, things like that. Her theme song in the game, as you're hearing now, comes from Battle and Chase. Just a remixed version of that. And quick little side note is that out of all of the Capcom characters introduced in Marvel vs. Capcom, Mega Man and Roll are actually the only 2 that came from a console game rather than the arcades. So like I said, she's very much just a clone of Mega Man. So she has all the same moves, same supers. They might look a little different, but they all have the same functionality, if just a little bit weaker. So now for both Mega Man and Roll, a very interesting thing they do in the game is that when you win your match in Marvel vs. Capcom, normally the you win screen, it sounds a little bit like this. Now, when Mega Man or Roll win, it sounds a little different. You might recognize this one. So very cool touch there. Very into, they know, hey, it's Mega Man. You got to have like the Mega Man music and everything. So also, as you can see with the victory quote there, a lot of references to obtaining new powers. Either it's like, ooh, do I get a new power? Or again, you're so weak, I don't want your power. And lastly, this screenshot here is from Mega Man's ending. So he defeats the final boss, Onslaught. And once again, you hear. And then after that, you get, as one does, you get a new weapon, which then goes into a remix of Mega Man 3's Get a Weapon. And in the PlayStation version of the game, you actually get to play as this version of Mega Man with Magnetic Shockwave. I would say it's probably the one good thing about that port. Other than that, it's got a lot of issues, but hey, that's a cool touch, right? So let's fast forward 2 years and let's go for a ride. So here we have Marvel vs. Capcom 2. So this is the fourth game in the Versus series. So it would expand the battles from 2v2 to 3 vs 3 for the first time, as long as change the assist system, where you can choose different assists for the other characters on your team, so they can come out and use different special moves to help you out. So the game's roster, they actually took everyone from the Marvel and Capcom games from this from up to this point. So from X-Men Children of the Atom all the way up to Marvel vs. Capcom 1, every playable character is thrown in here, as well as some newcomers such as Cable from the X-Men and Jill Valentine from Resident Evil. But they're not the only ones. So of course, we had to throw in some Mega Man characters too. We now have Tron Bonne. So directly from Mega Man Legends, Tron Bonne, she fights in the Gustav mecha, and she also uses her always loyal serve bots to do some of the fighting for her as well. So, like I said before, she uses the Gustav to do a lot of her fighting. It has air dashing, lots of really big buttons. And also, a lot of her supers involve throwing the serve bots at you, like the, as you can see here. She also has a move called the Beacon Bomb, where she shoots at you, and then the serve bots grab onto your opponent, and they kind of shake crystals out of them. And then when you collect those crystals, they actually heal Tron. Yeah, they actually heal Tron. And if you couldn't get enough of the serve bot, well, turns out the serve bot is also a playable character as well, by himself. Once again, another joke character added to the game, so he joins along with Dan Hibiki and Roll. Again, as a joke character, he's very intentionally weak on purpose. He's just supposed to be the funny little guy that you can pick. Maybe to troll your friends or something like that. And as you can see, Cyclops is not a fan. So as you can see, Servbot is very tiny. So a lot of combos or things like that just won't hit him. It's probably the only thing he has going for him. Other than that, very weak attacks, very bad range. However, the super you see here, the Lunch Rush, as you can see, Spider-Man's kind of getting beat up by it. However, if you block that, it actually does even more damage through chip damage, which is pretty unique, right? So, moving on, we're going to go into what I like to call the GBA era. So after Marvel 2, Capcom themselves, they kind of step away from the fighting game space for about 5 years. So because of that, we don't really see, no more Mega Man games, no more Mega Man games, no more, Mega Man fighting games or anything like that, not for a while at least. However, we do have a couple weird things. At least that's all I can really say. including one not even made by Capcom at all. So this is SVC Chaos SNK versus Capcom. So if you are unfamiliar with this, this is so back in the early 2000s, 2000, 2001, Capcom and SNK came together and created the Capcom versus SNK games. Those were developed by Capcom. It was Capcom characters, mostly Street Fighter against SNK's roster, mostly Fatal Fury and King of Fighters. And they came together, fought each other. It was the whole thing. There were two games like that. And then in 2003, SNK decided, hey, let's give it a shot. Let's do our version of that. It's a very strange game, I would say, in gameplay and mostly aesthetic. The entire aesthetic is like a post-apocalypse world that's also supposed to be like the actual real world. And also lots of very goofy pre-fight conversations, like the infamous yoga rules. And we got SNK characters, we got some Capcom characters as well, and of course we do have a Mega Man character, including a certain Maverick Hunter's first fighting game appearance. We have Zero. So SVC Chaos would give us the fighting game debut of Zero. In his Mega Man Zero appearance. So he is. This would start the trend of Zero being, well, anytime Zero is in a fighting game, he is the best character. It is a fact of life. It's death, taxes, Zero being top tier. Like, it's just a thing. And here, I honestly be the most, like, he's good in every game. This might be the most good he's ever been. So, coming from Mega Man Zero, he has a lot of the Mega Man Zero 1 arsenal. So he has the Z Saber, he's got his Z Buster, he also has the Triple Rod, and he has the Shield Boomerang. In addition to all of that, he also uses the Cyber Elves. They can all assist him in various different ways, whether they can heal him, or they can buff his attack or defense. And there's even one that when they hit the opponent, they turn the opponent into a Cyber Elf, and they can't block, they can't really do anything. They just have to get hit. And combined with an infinite that you can do with the Triple Rod, that kind of just ends rounds right away. This character is insane. I don't have, it would be an entirely separate panel on its own to describe how broken he is, so we're just going to keep it moving. And no, he cannot SDC here. He doesn't need it, trust me. He's got enough tools at his disposal. So this is like a quick little aside, but also in 2003, Capcom released a game called Onimusha Blade Warriors. So I said before, this is right. Yeah, I would gladly do a panel just on how broken Zero is in every fighting game he's in. That seems like a pretty fun one, actually. I would love to do that. But going back to Onimusha Blade Warriors, so this was a spin-off of the Onimusha games that basically was just like a arena fighter, platform fighter, whatever you want to call it, starring all of the Onimusha characters. Now you're wondering, why is this here? Why would I bring this up? This isn't even like a traditional 2D fighter. Well, in addition to all of the different Onimusha characters in the game, there were a couple secret characters. I'll give you a little hint. Yes, they did come from Mega Man. In fact, we had Mega Man.exe, and we once again had Zero. So, basically, the first time you complete the game, or this game story mode, you unlock Mega Man.exe, and then by fulfilling some conditions in EXE's story mode, you can also unlock Zero. As you can see by the character select screenshot here, they look so hilariously out of place. I like doing the research and like looking into this, I was cracking up. I did not realize just how out of place they were. But it's really cool. So this is, as far as I know, this is EXE's only appearance in any kind of game like this, whether it's 2D fight. It looks Photoshop. Look, it's even crazier because if you look at the character portraits where you see like the straight up JPEG of land versus like the 3D model of Zero, that is how it looks in the game. I wish I was photoshopping this. Like this looks like a terrible like early 2000s Photoshop, but it's not. So gameplay wise, Zero once again is bringing a lot of his Zero arsenal to the game: Z Saber, Z Buster, Triple Rod, etc. EXE uses a lot of the sword battle chips. In addition to that, he can also change styles from between normal, ground, and bug style. And again, it's so jarring. So we're gonna do another aside here. Going from Mega Man and fighting games, let's do the fighting games that made their way into Mega Man. So again, Capcom's still on their little sabbatical, their 5-6 year sabbatical. So let's keep it moving here. So as a lot of people know, very infamous Easter eggs in X1 and X2, the Hadouken and Shoryuken. You get 100%, and then in both X1 and X2, you find hidden capsules that give you access to Ryu's Hadouken and Ken's Shoryuken. They're both executed exactly how you would do them in Street Fighter, with quarter circle forward for the Hadouken and forward, down, down forward, and attack for the Shoryuken. They can also be performed with negative edge. If you're unfamiliar with that term, basically all that means is that if you hold down an attack button, if you do the motion and let go, it guarantees that you get the move out on the very first frame that you can do it. So you can charge the Buster. Put in the Shoryuken or the Hadouken, let go, and then you get a Hadouken and Shoryuken. Now, a lot of people also wonder, hey, how come they never did the Hurricane Kick? That should have been in one of the games, right? Like an X3 or something? Well, they actually did eventually do it. So, in Mega Man X8, the Tatsumaki Senpu Kyaku, also known as the Hurricane Kick, actually did make an appearance in a Mega Man X game. So, in Mega Man X8, Zero has access to a variety of different weapons besides the Z Saber, such as the K Knuckle. And also he gets a hammer, he gets Sigma's sword as well. So some of the boss's techniques that he gets, when done with the K Knuckle, actually turns into Street Fighter moves, such as the Shoryuken, coming from Avalanche Yeti. And then if you're familiar with X8 speedrunning, the infamous Ratsetsen, so that becomes the Tatsumaki Senpu Kyaku. The glitch still works with that too. If you're familiar with him flying off screen, you can do that with the Hurricane Kick as well. So next up, in addition to more Street Fighter references in the Mega Man game, we have the giant walking Street Fighter reference himself, Magma Dragoon. So, coming from X4, Magma Dragoon's moveset and appearance is heavily inspired by the Street Fighter series, mostly Akuma. As you can see, they're rocking the same beads, and also in a lot of his artwork, he's rocking the same kanji as Akuma's when he does the Raging Demon. In addition to that, his actual moves, a lot of this, he has Akuma's dive kick, Hadouken, Shoryuken, classic stuff. He's also in, is that why I like X4? No. Way before I even touched Street Fighter, I always thought Magma Dragoon was super cool. He is my favorite Maverick, but for completely different reasons. It's just a hilarious coincidence, I swear. So, with that, let's move on to part 4, which is 2008. Capcom would release Street Fighter 4 in arcades, and at this point, they're finally coming back to fighting games. Alongside Street Fighter 4, they would make way more games after that, such as none other than Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, Cross Generation of Heroes. So, right after Street Fighter 4, Capcom would release a new Versus title. So they still don't have the Marvel license, so they had to make do with something. Well, that something being Tatsunoko Production, classic anime studio, known for stuff like Gatchaman. Hilariously, they don't appear in this game, but like the two probably most famous Tatsunoko properties that you probably know of on this side of the world, Speed Racer and Samurai Pizza Cats, are actually not in this game at all. They don't appear at all. It's heartbreaking, but they're not here. I'm sorry. But that being said, other Tatsunoko characters and franchises, such as Gatchaman, Time Bokan, and others, went up against Capcom's roster. So, of course, you got Street Fighter, you got some Dark Stalkers, and, of course, you have Mega Man. Another unique thing about the roster in this game and their representation is that they did it by games rather than, like, franchises. So, like, for example, for Street Fighter, you'd have Ryu representing Street Fighter 1, Chun-Li representing Street Fighter 2, then you would have Alex from Street Fighter 3 representing Street Fighter 3. This is important to note because this game does introduce a ton of new Mega Man characters, and they're all representing different franchises. That being said, let's get to the first one. We have Mega Man Volnut. So coming from Mega Man Legends, we have Mega Man Volnut making his fighting game debut. Volnut is a very interesting character. He's definitely one of the more technical characters in the game. So his main thing is that he switches between 3 arms. He has a drill arm, or he has his regular arm, that's just his hand. He has a machine gun arm, drill arm, and also a shield arm. And of course he has his trusty Buster as well. And he also has the sweet remix. So, like I said before, he has the 3 arms that he switches between. It's really cool because the weapon switch itself is kind of like a mini command dash, so he can use it for movement as well. So he can use it as like a ground dash or like an air dash. And as you can see, he can shoot the Buster, cancel it into a switch, and then use that to keep shooting and do something else. So he's just kind of filling the screen with Buster projectiles. So another cool thing with the shield arm is that it reflects projectiles. Another thing it does is when he blocks attacks or special attacks with the shield arm out, he actually doesn't take chip damage. So, in addition to Volnut, you gotta have like a classic Mega Man series representative, right? Of course. So, in addition to Mega Man Volnut, we have a returning character. We have Roll. So she comes back in Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. Luckily, she's back, and she's no longer a joke character. She's here to fight for real. Despite what her moveset might look like, she is definitely here to fight. She got a complete overhaul. Basically, now she's making use of a lot of her housekeeping abilities, including she has her broom, she has a mop, she has a bucket of water. It doesn't sound impressive, but trust me, that's how they get you. So, she has a bunch of attacks here. Like I said, she has the water bucket, which is also her assist in this game. It leaves behind a puddle of water. So basically what happens is the bucket of water is a low, but if your opponent's under it and, you know, she jumps in or something, she can actually set up unblockable attacks with it. At least for her partner. As you can see, she's also sweeping up the competition. Also, if she uses her mop attack on the puddle, it gives her a power-up that lasts for the entire match. She can also stack those and become very powerful if you let her, basically. She also has a super that lets her heal, and peep the sound effect. Pretty neat. Now, Now, 2 years later, Tatsunoko vs. Capcom would receive an update and an English localization called Tatsunoko vs. Capcom Ultimate All-Stars. So following the game's success in Japan and a lot of fan demand, and apparently some people at Capcom put in some favors, shouts to Seth Killian, Tatsunoko vs. Capcom received an overseas release and update, Ultimate All-Stars. So this version brought balance changes, a brand new soundtrack, and 5 new characters. One of them being the fighting game debut of a certain Mega Man series. Let me tell you, it's some real exciting stuff. That's right. Mega Man X is finally in fighting games. Here he is, it's Zero. Well, the Mega Man X version. So here he's got his trusty Buster, he's got the Seed Saber, he's got a ton of boss techniques from the X games, and also, unsurprisingly, he is the best character in the game. So, Zero, he is, like I said, a very good character. He is a jack of all trades. He is also a master of all. He's got great movement. He's got projectiles such as his Buster, things like that. He's got a cool super called Sogenmu from X5, which basically lets him do everything twice. And also he has his level 3 here, which is Darkhold from Mega Man X5. This is one of the coolest moves in the game, bar none. Like, you really can't go wrong with that. Now, I think I everything here. Let me get back on track, because now, following Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, we have Marvel vs. Capcom 3. That's right, we finally have come back home, I guess you could say. So, in 2011, the classic crossover returned with Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Fate of Two Worlds, and also later that year, they updated the game with Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. So, unfortunately, there are no new Mega Man characters here. However, the ones that do return, they got a couple new tricks up their sleeve. Well, I guess besides, Zero, he is still very much Zero. He's here. He's incredible. This character is very, very, very notorious in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Just best character, kind of dominates the competitive metagame, along with his best friends Dante and Virgil from the Devil May Cry series. So he's got a couple new moves here. He's got Raikosen from X8, which again is one of his very, very notorious moves in this game. In addition to that, he comes with a lot of he has a lot of color palettes, including a DLC costume that's literally just X himself. That you can see here. As you see, he's got X color. He's got the X1 armor color. He's got a vial. He's got Mega Man Zero, Bass, Axel. He's got a whole lot here. In addition to that, we have Trombone making a reappearance from Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Once again, rocking the Gustav, and with her Servbot friends. She even has a Servbot Gustav as her alternate costume. In addition to this is also kind of the era where Mega Man himself won't be in a lot of fighting games, and Capcom decided to do this funny running bit, especially in this game, where it's just like, oh yeah, by the way, he's never coming back, and they would just do all these like kind of, I'm not gonna lie, they're kind of mean teases, including here where he does appear in Nova's ending, where he starts the Mega Nova Corps alongside other Mega Man characters such as Proto Man, Mega Man Roll, and Beat. And then in a reference to the classic Days of Future Past comic cover, it shows off other characters that appeared in earlier Marvel vs. Capcom games that weren't in 3, and where Wolverine would be in the Days of Future Past comic cover. They put Mega Man there with the very ambiguous, well, he wasn't apprehended or slain. Where could he be? That being said, now we gotta go, unfortunately, into the very, very dark days. We have Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Now, a lot of people probably know exactly where this is going. So Street Fighter and Tekken, they crossed over. They were here, they were fighting each other. It was a whole thing. Also, they played a very, very cool joke on us Mega Man fans. Exclusive to the PlayStation versions of the game, we have Mega Man. Yeah. So, as a guest character, we had the bad box art Mega Man as the playable character. I'm not gonna lie, I saw this before this game came out. They did this. Everyone was mad. Literally everyone hated this. No one was too pleased about this, but we did get this, so I can't really complain. Yeah, so he just got a funny little glitch where he just floats off screen. It's funny, a lot of people couldn't even tell you. I couldn't even tell you like what exactly he really did here. It was mostly just like a parody of Mega Man, while also just like being mostly like, hey, he's out of shape, ha ha ha, it's so funny. But yeah, he's still floating, by the way. He's going, and going, and going, and going, and going, and gone. All right. So, 5 years later, Marvel vs. Capcom will once again come back. We have Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Also, kind of a controversial game in its own right. We return to the 2v2 style. Also, this game was Marvel vs. Capcom post the Marvel Disney merger. And, we did skip Smash Brothers. This is mostly focused on traditional 2D fighters as opposed to Smash. But yes, Mega Man was in Smash. It would be the entire panel to himself to just cover Mega Man and Smash. So we're mostly just focusing on a lot of the traditional stuff. That being said, here we are. We have Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite in 2017. A lot of focus on the MCU as it was blowing up at this point. This is a 2v2 game, introduced a new gameplay mechanic with the Infinity Stones, and also it had its own story mode, an original story where Marvel and Capcom characters came together to stop the fusion of Ultron and Sigma. And with Sigma on the loose, clearly someone's got to stop him. So I wonder who it could be. Give me 1 second. So we have Mega Man X. He's finally here. It took God knows how many years, but he's here. Finally. Makes his fighting game debut. He's got his trusty X Buster. He's got a ton of special weapons here. He's got Boomerang Cutter, Sonic Slicer, Rising Fire. He's got the Nova Strike. He's got the Mega Man X armor, as you can see there. So X is a pretty interesting character in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Like most of the Mega Men before him, he's very projectile focused. So the X1 armor is an install super. The ultimate armor is his level 3. So firing his X-Buster is a special move that also has a bunch of follow-ups, including dashes, an overhead, and a sliding low. He does not, actually. Trust me, Dormammu's in this game. He plants a lot of spikes on the ground, and X does not die instantly. So that's good to know. So he's got Sonic Slicer, Boomerang Cutter, other X weapons like that. He also has an install super, as I mentioned before. They call it the Armor of Light, which makes sense. He equips the X1 armor, and that enhances all of his moves and all of his projectiles as well. He also takes less damage from attacks, as he does have the body upgrade. And like I said before, his level 3, he puts on the ultimate armor. First, he starts with the Nova Strike, and then he does a massive laser. In addition, we also have Sigma making his first fighting game appearance, and also only fighting game appearance. So, Sigma, he's the typical big body archetype, really, really big attacks. He's also big presence himself, long range. Even though he kind of bucks the trend a little bit, he is a pretty mobile character, all things considered. Kind of a mobile character. He also has a counter teleport move. It counters teleports, attacks as well. But yeah, he's a pretty cool, really cool character. He's based on his X1 appearance mostly. And yeah, that's Sigma. He also has a very interesting level 3 where he just kind of throws you into like the Sigma virus dimension, and he just kind of gets jumped. You get jumped by a bunch of like the Sigma virus wireframes from X2. Oh, and lastly, hey, Zero's here. He's back. Hey, guess what, guys? He's actually the second best character in this game. Yeah. He is pretty good, again, but a new thing they do here is that when Zero does his special moves and he cancels his special moves with the fully charged Buster shots, they actually transform into different moves. So he actually gets Raku Hoha from X4, and he also gets Frost Walrus's downward poke, or downward Ice Slash from X4 as well, and some other moves as well. So, next up we have some stages here. Just a little short tour here. So in Marvel vs. Capcom 1, we had Dr. Wily's military base. As you can see here, you go ahead and fight here. You can see some mini bosses from 7. You can see lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of Mets. And yeah, it's really cool, really vibrant stage. I've always wondered what Dr. Wily exactly is shouting here. I'm sure it can't be anything appropriate. Unless Mega Man is on the screen and he's getting his butt kicked. Next up, we have the Gesso Shaft from Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. We have 2 variations of it. We have the Clear Skies and we have the Storm version. The Clear Skies version is mostly you can see the serve bots doing their thing, just mostly just working, getting the job done. In the Stormy version, though, as you can see, the weather kind of puts them in a bit of a panic, so they're kind of just running around. It's mayhem. They don't know what to do. And then Marvel vs. Capcom 3 brought us Cadillacs Island. As you can see, it's a big fireworks celebration. You can see the Bond family there in the background. And everyone's having a grand old time while they watch a group of 6 superheroes and robots or whatever, or martial arts fighters just beating the crap out of each other. Then Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 gave us Bond Wonderland. So we're back at Cadillacs Island. It's winter time, and looking very Midwestern here, but as you can see, the Serbots are having themselves a fun little snow day. And this is a very popular level if you watch Marvel 3 tournaments, as it basically it is probably the most visible. You'll see all of the carnage that happens in this game. So it makes everything pretty easy to see. When I say easy to see, I mean like relative, because everything's very hard to see. And then lastly, in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, we have the X-Guard Bifrost Bridge. So what happens in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite is that the worlds literally fuse. So like Wakanda fuses with the world of Monster Hunter. And here you can see Asgard fused with Able City from X1 and Maverick Hunter X. So you can see like you have like the highway stage, and also you have Asgard. It's very neat, very unique stylistic aesthetic choice, I think. And yeah. And then just some closing remarks. Like I said, someone asked in the chat before, just to address it. I didn't mention Smash here. He is, of course, in Smash Brothers. Mostly we just wanted to focus a lot on the traditional 2D fighting games that he appeared in. Mostly that Mega Man characters have appeared in, as that's mostly just like my wheelhouse. And yeah, Capcom hasn't made any new games in a while. In this year since, there's been stuff like Mega Man costumes in Street Fighter V. There's been stuff like, there's a lot of Mega Man related events in Street Fighter 6, I guess. But as of this conversation, or as of this, who knows what the future holds. I think there could be some cool characters. Honestly, I think there's like a well of potential for a lot of cool characters in future fighting games. I think base.exe is just like begging to be in like a new Versus game or something like that. I think he would be an extremely sick character. Capcom, if you see this, you know what to do. I think they could probably finally put Magma Dragoon in a fighting game. I think it just makes sense, But yeah, thanks for joining me for this this odyssey through the history of Mega Man in fighting games. And that is the end.
Well, all right. Thank you so much, Phil, for taking us through the generations here of Mega Man's appearances in fighting games. And honestly, I felt like I knew a lot of those, but there was a couple that I did not realize, especially the EXE being in a fighting game. Insane.
Yep, they only did it once. I kind of wonder why it hasn't happened again, honestly. I feel like, again, that's another, like, well, there's so many navies or whatever you could put in the game. It's just, or in a game, so.
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, though. If I was to add an EXE character back into the game, it would not be Mega Man. It'd absolutely be base, though. You could have, like, Hell's Rolling be a cool attack. You'd have the Raking Buster, like, be able to do that. Oh, it'd be so sick.
I also always thought the Guardians from Zero would be sick characters.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's so true, though. I would
Especially if, like, you could do kind of like a thing like Captain Ginyu in Dragon Ball Fighters, where you have one of them. Maybe you play as Harpuya, but like he can call the other ones.
Dude, Harpuya mobility would actually be nuts. Oh my god, the Harpoon could be so good.
But you know, a guy can dream, I suppose.
Hey, maybe
just
someday.
do Mugen. That is true.
That's a good point. That's a good point. But yeah, I'd love to see more like Mega Man fighting game stuff. So freaking cool.
Well, being said, that does conclude the panel. However, stay tuned as we going back to a second. Heading back to Tatsunoko vs. Capcom Ultimate All-Stars, we are actually going to be bringing you some exhibition matches in this game. We found some players that specialize in the Mega Man characters that appear in this game. They're going to run some sets, and you get to see a lot of those characters in action. And probably put some channel points down. You know, do some good old betting. You know, we love gambling.
Oh, we love it.
Set up for you, and then we'll be back.
All right, everyone, we'll be right back.